Welcome to today's show. I am your host, Eric Darnley Small. And if you like what you see on today's show, I would encourage you, hopefully, if you are kind enough to like and subscribe, and you can always click the bell in order to be notified of new content. In addition, if you've been to this channel once before, you will know I'm going to read from a number of different articles. They are not the entire article. They are only a portion of the article. And I encourage you to go to my Mastodon at mastodon.vtip.me/@ what you missed to see the full article. The snippets that I put out are here to basically illuminate and to talk about my how I come to the conclusions that I make. But I encourage people to do their own research, to take a look at the stuff that I am providing, and to make a decision on your own. These articles, they're much more extensive when you take a look at it, and you'll get a better sense of basically what I'm talking about. So to that end, let's get right into it. This is going to be hopefully a short video, but I want to get into this very quickly. But first, I'm going to do something about the lighting on my face. 1 second. Okay, now that that's a little bit better. So on today's show, I want to go back to what I think is still really important. And it sort of connects to my previous episode where I talk about what I believe to be, I don't know if I want to call it misinformation, but there is an attempt to attack progressivism and an attempt to attack liberalism as the reason why Donald Trump won. Donald Trump won because Donald Trump had the enviable position of going to wherever he went and just lie. He would go to Nevada and talk about we're not going to tax your tips. He would talk about not doing anything to harm Social Security. He would go to factories and say, don't sell your house, don't leave, we're going to bring those jobs back. He would go and talk about not taxing Social Security, and on and on and on. So when you're in the position where you can just say whatever the hell you want to say and people believe you, then if the other side is tethered to reality and tethered to facts, that gives you an advantage. So Donald Trump had an advantage going in that Democrats did not have because we're tethered to facts and reality and that sort of thing. But there's also this notion that, and I mentioned it regarding Fareed Zakaria GPS on Sunday, that progressive ideas are problematic. Wokeism, as he put it, is problematic. And that is what has caused voters to no longer believe in and trust Democrats. And as I noted, number one, if you're a rich person, you probably have that mindset. Number two, if you're a Reagan conservative, or as I said, a Thatcherite with Fareed Zakaria, and you have a background of distrust of government because the countries that you've come from, their form of government is terrible. Cubans are similar in that vein. They hate socialism because of a family history of being in part of governments where there's massive dysfunction. I understand that you would have this position that government is the problem, as Ronald Reagan famously said. However, it doesn't explain why this stuff is going on in other countries. One country in specific that I want to talk about today. And this was a fascinating article that came out. But the goal of this video is it's not just America. We would like to believe, and the mainstream media would like us to believe, that this is what's happening right now is happening in America because America is bad because of wokeism and because of progressivism and of Bidenomics and whatnot. But it's not just in America that this is happening. There's a report, this is from the BBC, that China's overqualified are taking on menial jobs. And that's pretty fascinating, given the fact that Musk and Ramaswamy, less than a week ago, said that we need jobs from Asia, we need workers from Asia, H-1B visas, and to import those people because they have the right ethics and values. But as we're about to see in this article, Chinese youth are behaving a hell of a lot like American youth. And again, this is more about this, as much as this is about a pushback against the lies and the scam that is the new Trump administration that's coming in and their acolytes. This is also about Democrats taking the wrong message from the election, as well as pundits like people who I respect a great deal, like Fareed Zakaria. And the article from the BBC is the China's overqualified youth are taking jobs as drivers, laborers, and film extras. And I come away with the world youth is struggling. This is not just about a set of policies or individuals or an ideology. This is about something that is happening in the world writ large. And, you know, if you didn't know about this a number of years, and this is the point of this channel and why it's called What You Miss, because if you're a busy person, you're a working person, you're doing your daily thing, you don't have the time to look at all the different articles and all the different stories that might give you another narrative other than what's being pumped to you from CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. So I try to find some of these things that I think people will miss if they haven't seen it. And this article that I'm about to read comes from the BBC, which is, of course, out of the UK, which if you're only reading American reporters and content, you're not going to catch stuff that's happening worldwide. And I think that the right and some of the people who are here in the US are betting on that, particularly those who want to shape a certain kind of narrative that vilifies progressivism, vilifies Democrats. But one of the things that you may not realize and may have missed is that there's been a problem with China and Chinese youth going back to 2021 and even further, coming out of COVID. And again, there's a narrative that liberalism, Bidenomics, and progressivism caused the massive feelings of hopelessness and despair in America that swung the election to Trump. The right has used the specter of wokeism and DEI for the reason why American youth are in trouble. And some voters blame Democrats for the shape of the economy, i.e. inflation. As we know, that's the big reason why the price of eggs, the price of milk, right? That's the reason why Donald Trump won. None of that explains why this is happening in other countries that do not have these same ideas and policies. The Lie Flat movement in China has been going on since at least 2021. The Lie Flatters are students in protest of unjust work environments and lack of jobs, as well as trauma coming out of COVID lockdowns. These are the same issues that youth in America are experiencing, but don't tell that to the mainstream media. So again, these are countries that don't have wokeism. These are countries that don't have DEI and whatnot. And yet their youth are feeling the same way about their prospects and about where the economy and where their future is. So, you're going to find a lot of similarities between what's happening with China's youth and America's youth. But Ramaswamy and Musk, they think it's America's culture, which I'm going to go into that at the end of this video. But this is from the article, BBC. Again, the title is China's Overqualified Youth Taking Jobs as Drivers, Laborers, and Film Extras. And this was January 2nd of this year by Stephen McDonald. And it goes on. China is now a country where a high school handyman has a master's degree in physics, a cleaner is qualified in environmental planning, a driver studying philosophy, and a PhD graduate from a prestigious university ends up applying to work as an auxiliary police officer. These are real cases in a struggling economy, and it's not hard to find more like them. Quote, my dream job was to work in investment banking, says Sung Zan, as he prepares to start his shift as a waiter in a hot pot restaurant in the southern city of Ninjiang. China is churning out millions of university graduates every year, but in some fields, there aren't enough jobs for them. The economy has been struggling and stalling in major sectors, including real estate and manufacturing. Youth unemployment had been nudging 20% before the way of measuring figures was altered to make the situation look better. In August 2024, it was still 18.8%. The latest figure in November has come down to 16.1%. Many university graduates who found it hard to get work in their area of selected study are now doing jobs well below what they're qualified for, leading to criticism from family and friends. Quote, the job situation is really, really challenging in mainland China. So I think a lot of young people have to really readjust their expectations, says Professor Zhang Jun from City University of Hong Kong. She says many students are seeking higher degrees in order to have better prospects, but then the reality of the employment environment hits them. And what might seem to be a warning sign for young people, many companies in China, including many tech companies, have laid off quite a lot of staff, she adds. She also says significant areas of the economy, which had once been big employers for graduates, are offering substandard conditions, and decent opportunities in the fields are disappearing altogether. While they work out what to do in the future, unemployed graduates have also been turning to the film and television industry. Big budget movies need lots of extras to fill their scenes, and in China's famous production town of Hendang, southwest of Shanghai, there are plenty of young people looking for acting work. Quote, I mainly stand beside the protagonist as eye candy. I am seen next to the lead actor, but I have no lines, says Wu Zhang, who studied electronic information engineering and was playing a bodyguard in the drama. The 26-year-old laughs that his good looks have helped him become employed as an extra. He says people often come to Hendang and work for just a few months at a time. He says this is a temporary fix for him too, till he finds something permanent. I don't make much money, but I'm relaxed and I feel free. But many fear they'll never land a decent job and may have to settle for a role unlike that they had imagined. The lack of confidence in the trajectory of the Chinese economy means young people often don't know what the future will hold for them. Wu Dan says even her friends who are employed can feel quite lost. Quote, they are often confused and feel that the future is unclear. Those with jobs aren't satisfied with them. They don't know for how long they can hold on to these positions, and if they lose their current job, what else they can do. So, this is interesting. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And I'm going to, let me go right now to my final thoughts, because I'm going to sort of summarize and talk about it at the same time. So don't believe the pundits and the politicians and their mouthpieces. By looking at other countries, we can begin to see something else is going on in the world today. Just take a look at China. Musk and Ramaswamy, and this is last week, I feel like it was longer, but maybe it may have been towards the end of November, but this was the Twitter battle that people may be familiar with, where Vivek Ramaswamy basically attacked American culture as the reason why we can't get Americans to work in the tech industry. But it says, and this is what Ramaswamy said, is that American culture is lazy, and that other countries, specifically Asian countries, are so much better because they have the values that America needs to get ahead. They claim that this is why they need H-1B visas to import the culture and the values of countries like China. India would be one of them as well, I would say. But this report appears to contradict that idea. Highly educated Chinese students are working in restaurants and as actors on movie sets. In fact, the youth in China who are working in traditional jobs feel lost and are not satisfied with them. So are the Chinese youth lazy too? No, they are looking for good jobs just like American youth, but they are not enough good jobs. And Chinese businesses, like in America, are laying off people. Also, Chinese youth are dealing with the sting of financial ruin after graduating from university. They also want to be happy and content in their careers, just like American youths. So this is not and never has been about a culture battle between America and Asian values. As I said in my last video, the Doge team want these highly educated workers not because their values are greater or work ethic is greater, but because they can be easily exploited. I mentioned this in my previous video. They want to have these H-1B visa holders because they cannot, if you're coming here on a visa, you cannot protest, you can't demand better working environment, you can't demand sick leave, an 8-hour workday, etc. That's why they want these workers here as opposed to American workers, as opposed to DEI. But one of the things that is interesting here is how much similar what is going on with these Chinese youth is happening with America youth. Again, and it speaks to the election. Again, most of the young people who voted for Trump, a lot of them had never voted. And I mentioned this in my previous video. You can take a look at it. But a lot of them had never voted before, or in some cases had voted for a third party or non-affiliated person, and they voted for Trump. Those people who did that were a lot of young folks who had come out of COVID lockdowns and were pissed about the fact that they had these COVID lockdowns. They didn't remember for whatever reason that Donald Trump implemented these COVID lockdowns, which was correct in my view, that you needed to. We had a pandemic, 1 million people died. But the trauma that came out of that was never healed and never addressed, more importantly, by Democrats and by Kamala Harris and by the campaign, but by Democrats across the board. You know, Democratic blue states had some of the most severe, let's say, lockdowns. That's why you had this fleeing to Texas and Florida. So, and we're now beginning to see that people in Florida are beginning to regret that move and are leaving Florida and losing a lot of money in addition. So this is, again, more proof, more narrative that, number one, this idea that Ramaswamy and Musk is bull crap, that there's something wrong with American culture, that Asian culture is so much more superior, foreign country culture is so much superior. No, they're going through the same problems as well. The other thing is, again, that wokeism and DEI is what cost us this election. Defund the police, socialism is what cost us the election. No, what cost us the election is, it turns out, across the board and across the world, the people, voters, are going after the people they feel are responsible for those lockdowns. They're also, particularly here in America, are in a love scam. They want someone to tell them what they want to hear, whether they believe it or not, whether they're going to do it or not. I said in my last video, you have people pleading, begging, hoping that Donald Trump isn't who he said he was, just like the love scammer who promises and promises and promises as you send them money to do the right thing and to do what they said they were going to do. And it never happens because they have an agenda that is different from your own. Just like Musk, Ramaswamy, and Trump have an agenda that is different from their own. But you cannot convince these people that anything is going to change. They are too much caught up in this scam. So that was a quick video, quick for my videos. I want to put on another video coming up on, I think, some issues that I think is going to trouble the Democratic Party. This week was beginning congestion pricing in New York. Curious to see how that goes on. I'm going to hopefully find some reporting on that. We've got an election this year in both Virginia and in New York and in New Jersey, where hopefully we can do a pickup in Virginia and hopefully we can hold on in New Jersey. Democrats can hold on to the governorship there. Thank you for watching this video, and you will see me on the next one. Take care, everyone. Hey there, fantastic viewers. Eric Darnley Small here, and I hope you're loving today's episode of What You Missed. You've reached the end of today's show, but don't worry, there's more show coming up. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the bell so that you'll be notified when more content is available. You can also help the channel by clicking the like and subscribe buttons. It helps the YouTube algorithm find new viewers so that I can keep bringing you all this incredible content you enjoy. But wait, there are more ways to support the show. You can make a contribution through the show's PayPal, which goes a long way in helping produce even better content for you. And consider becoming a part of our growing community by joining our Mastodon site at mastodon.vtip.me/@whatyoumissed for more engaging discussions and exclusive updates. And here's something you won't want to miss. Mark your calendars for our live show streaming on YouTube and stream.vtip.me Monday mornings, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Your support means the world to me, and together we're making What You Missed the best it can be. Thanks for being a part of my journey.